We all know that there is a massive war going on and has been continuing between Russia and Ukraine since late February 2022. And there are consequences of a war which is not just faced by the two countries, but people all over the world get affected. The condition is worse for poorer and developing countries because both nations are two of the largest exporters of food grains and fertilizers, contributing about 30% in the global market. Ukraine has been one of the major producers of sunflower oil, wheat, maize, and barley, and Russia is the biggest exporter of wheat, claiming 19% of the global market. But what happens in a war? Russia's naval ships blockaded Ukraine's ports, which trapped around 20 million tons of grain. This was not only a situation of distress for Ukraine, but for the poorer nations as well, where it exported these surplus goods. Since they heavily relied on its exports, Middle Eastern and African countries had to increase the price of grains at an average of 30%. Place called the Horn of Africa was worst hit due to prior drought and now lack of grains to put in their stomach. People in these poorer and developing nations had to pay much more for their staple food, leading to global food crisis. Looking at the condition, United Nations decided to launch an initiative to control the inflated food prices all over the world, thereby helping Ukraine to sell their surplus so that they can also get the cash for next season's crop cultivation. On the other hand, though, Russia states that because of sanctions, they are also unable to provide more food and fertilizers to the world, over which UN said that they did not put any sanctions on export of goods from Russia. Except the thing is, they have put sanctions over payments, insurance, and logistics, due to which the parties involved in the whole production, distribution, and everything are not really willing to work with exporters, thus affecting the export indirectly. Anyways, the initiative launched by United Nations is called the Black Sea Grain Initiative or Black Sea Grain Corridor, and it laid the foundation for the meeting of the countries and negotiations between the two alongside Turkey. Now, why Turkey is involved in this negotiation, you ask? That's because Turkey controls those shipping routes from the Black Sea. It took almost 2 to 3 months of talks to finally sign the agreement on July 2022. Of course, all the four parties involved knew that the outcome, which would be much more difficult to attain, that is, to agree to the measure, if the battling countries were kept on face to face discussion. And thus, it did not happen with all of the four in the room. Instead, both countries signed the agreement separately with the two of the proposing parties. The validity of the deal was 120 days. According to the Black Sea Grain Initiative or Black Sea Grain Corridor, the goods will get exported through the Black Sea to and from the Ukraine's ports of Odessa, Chornomorsk, and Yuzhny. Sorry for my pronunciation. Also called the corridors. For this, procedures were to be built so to ensure safe navigation of the ships loaded with food grains and fertilizers. And a joint coordination center JCC was set up in Turkey to oversee the scheme. Now, since when the deal was signed, JCC reports that over 800 ships have left Ukraine's ports in the past 8 months, carrying more than 23 million tons of grain and other foodstuffs as well as fertilizer. Because of this, Sellers became confident and prices started falling in spring 2022 as markets anticipated a grain deal being signed and are now lower than they were before Russia's invasion. Moreover, UN said that it sent 13 ships from Ukraine carrying a total of over 380,000 tons of wheat to Ethiopia, Yemen, Djibouti, Somalia, and Afghanistan for the United Nations World Food Programme between August 2022 and the end of the year. Nearly 45% of the 23 million tons of food exports went to developed countries like Spain, Netherlands, Italy, the Republic of Korea, Germany, France, Greece, Ireland, and Israel. The rest to Egypt, India, Iran, Bangladesh, and countries in the Middle East and Africa. Russia, however, criticizes Ukraine of how it is exporting only a quarter of its exports to poorest countries and the rest goes to high income, upper middle income, and low or low middle income countries. While UN says that Ukraine's exports have benefited needy people around the world because they calmed international food markets, bringing food prices under control. Whatever may be the case, the deal certainly relieved food prices. For instance, the international reference price for wheat dropped for about 3 consecutive months, picking up only slightly in February. Corn prices too followed a similar trajectory. Although in November, Russia once pulled out of the deal for several days due to attack on its fleet in Crimea through Black Sea corridor, which it's said to be the result of Ukraine's act of aggression towards them. Still, after some mediation, Russia rejoined. In November, the deal extended for another 120 days, and UN plus Turkey tried to do the same in the March of 2023. But with Russia having its own card to play, reduced the deal to half, that is 60 days, and is asking for concessions for exports of his own goods, which is hindered by many sanctions that has been put over its different businesses and operations by Western nations. So that's it for now. Comment over what you think about Black Sea Grain Corridor or initiative. Should it be extended? If yes, then do you think it's right for Russia to demand concessions? Let me know.